皆さんこんにちは、ルルです。今日はアニメを見ながら効率的に日本語を勉強する方法を教えていきたいと思います。Hi guys, it's me Ruri. Today we're going to talk about how to learn Japanese effectively with anime. So let's cut to the chase. Can you learn Japanese with anime? The answer is definitely yes.Hi guys, it's me Ruri. If you're new here, I'm a native speaker when it comes to Japanese, and in my previous videos I got comments like, why would I listen to somebody that is native in that language giving language tips? And the thing is, first thing first, I can realize what foreigners usually make mistake when it comes to Japanese. And the second thing is, I didn't grow up in Japan, therefore from my childhood we always needed to do some practices. I can clearly say from my other mixed friends is that the ones that did their practices are clearly better than those kids that they didn't really practice Japanese. Therefore, even if you're partially Japanese, when you don't grow up in Japan, you need to make sure that you practice that language in order to come to a native level. Therefore, today I'm going to share some practices that I did when I was learning Japanese, and I'm sure that they're going to help you. So let's talk about how to learn Japanese with anime. So the step one when it comes to learning Japanese with animes is that obviously picking something to watch. The method that I'm going to explain right now is the exact same thing that I did when I was learning English. And the tricky thing is, yes, something that you enjoy is really important, but if the intention of watching an anime is learning Japanese, then you probably should pick something that is related to daily life. For example, it can be an anime about school life or maybe like love, but if you probably pick something like JoJo, which is my all-time favorite anime, your Japanese will probably sound a little bit weird. I'm gonna explain why, but you should pick something that is related to daily life. At least I would recommend. After picking something to watch, the next thing that you should do is to watch the anime at least 1 to 2 hours every single day in normal speed with subtitles in your language. Not only reading the subtitles, but also you're gonna try to understand and pick up some words in Japanese. In this way, you can learn some like basic vocabularies and also how to build sentences, and you will have like a general idea of Japanese. And the more you practice, more you start to pick Japanese vocabularies and understand the sentence structure and all of these things. Now you need to start learning Hiragana, Katakana, and maybe a little bit of Kanji. If your intention is to only understand anime, then you probably don't need to learn that much of Kanji. But I would highly recommend you to study a little bit of Hiragana and Katakana. I have a video about how you can do it, so you can watch it right here. But learning Hiragana and Katakana is not that hard. In total, you will have like 100 alphabet kind of like thingies, so it's not going to be hard. But I would totally recommend you to learn Hiragana and Katakana for our further steps. And while learning the Hiragana and Katakana, please don't forget to watch animes at least 1 to 2 hours, because it is really important to make Japanese a part in your life. Now you're gonna watch animes at normal speed, but this time with Japanese subtitles. I know there are like some programs, or maybe even like in Netflix, there are like subtitle options that you can watch Japanese animes with Japanese subtitles in Hiragana and in Katakana, so like without any kanjis. If it's not available in your like Netflix, you can download like some programs that allows you to do that. So in this step, you're gonna try to understand Japanese anime with Japanese subtitles. At the beginning, you might not understand anything, any word, and that's completely normal. That was me back in the day when I was learning English, but by the time you're gonna start to build your Japanese brain, and it is crucial to become fluent in Japanese. If you're translating every single word in your brain, then probably you won't become that fluent in that language, or your like Japanese will sound pretty weird. Therefore, this step is crucial. It sometimes can be intimidating when you cannot understand anything from anime, but with the time and with the practice, you will be able to understand it. Trust me, it's gonna take a little time, but with practice, we can achieve everything. So after getting comfortable with, watching animes with Hiragana and Katakana subtitles, you're gonna move to the next step. And in this step, you need to watch animes at least at 1.25 to 1.5x speed. So you're gonna speed up the anime a little bit, but you're gonna still continue to watch the anime with Japanese subtitles. And in order to understand Japanese native speakers, some people speak really fast, like me, unfortunately. Therefore, speeding up the process will also allow you to understand native speakers as well as your listening skills. Once you get used to this like fast Japanese, then the daily conversation is gonna be really easy for you. And even the native speaker talks really fast, since you are already like adapted to the 1.25 to 1.5x speed, it's not gonna be like really hard for you to understand them. When doing this method, the important thing is, after watching every single episode of anime, please try to explain it to yourself in Japanese. In the beginning, it can be like very basic stuff since you don't really know the language, but it is crucial for us to do some outputs when we're doing some inputs. So let me explain why this method works when it comes to learning Japanese. Anime Japanese and real life Japanese is something that is different from each other, and I talked about this in my other videos. But the thing is, when it comes to the sentence structure and when it comes to the vocabularies, it's basically the same. So when you look into the grammar, you can learn from animes. Yes, some words are different and may be used in a different way, but when you look in a grammar way, it's exact same. And since anime is something that is made for Japanese speakers, it's not like made for foreigners, it's basically made for Japanese people to enjoy them. Therefore, we native speakers watch them and enjoy them and understand them. It's not that far away from daily Japanese. So, watching anime for building a foundation in Japanese is actually a great way to study Japanese. Like everything in life, we're gonna implement the 80-20 rule. 80-20 rule is basically says that 80% of the outcomes comes from the 20% of the incomes. What does it mean? So 80% of the results come from the 20% of that core part that you should be focusing. And when it comes to learning Japanese, that 20%, the bulk, is the basics. Once you learn the basics, it's easy to actually improve in that language, and you can do it with watching animes. As I said, anime Japanese and daily Japanese is different from each other. That shouldn't be ignored. I have a couple of friends who are not Japanese and learn Japanese from animes, and you can clearly notice that their Japanese is anime Japanese. This happens because in animes, Japanese producers or anime makers or mangakas anyways do this intentionally so that they can add more characteristics to the characters and the way they speak, and so that they can be more memorable, So they tweak the language a little bit. Therefore, it's little different from the daily conversation. But once you build the basics with anime Japanese, I think you can practice daily Japanese and change it over time. So it's not going to be that much a problem, but at the beginning, your Japanese might sound a little weird. In order to prevent that, while watching Japanese animes and things, and also another thing that you should be doing when learning Japanese is the best way to learn a language and be fluent in a natural way is being in touch with native speakers, because language is something that is changed with the time and language is something that lives. But you might be thinking, how can I interact with native speakers? The great way to do is to use today's sponsor, EasySpeak. EasySpeak is an online learning platform. Of course, there are native Japanese speakers in that platform, but if you want to learn another language, there are more than 20 languages in EasySpeak platform. You can either use the online side of them or you can download the app. And I have a promo code down in the description below. You can do a free trial until 15th of January. So if you're watching this video currently, hurry up because it's gonna end in 15th of January. Even if you're watching this video after 15th of January, the great news is trial lesson is only €3, which is approximately around 3.5 US. It allows you to teach the teacher from the platform, and the great thing is there are so many reviews, and also they're introduction to teachers, so you can choose a teacher that fits to your learning style and that's something you would like. The great thing about learning Japanese from native speakers in an online platform is that, due to COVID situation, first thing first, it's much safer for your health, And the second thing is it's really convenient. You can learn Japanese from anywhere in the world, and you can adjust to your schedule and find a teacher that fits to your schedule. You know, when it's a language school or when it's like something physical, you have to go there, and the time that you spend for commuting and also the action of going there can be a little intimidating, and with the time you might start to, you know, not feel really motivated to go there, and you might make excuses. But in Izispeak, even if you're traveling, you can learn Japanese with Izispeak, and you can even make this as a 2022 New Year resolution to learn Japanese with using Izispeak and watching animes. I think it's a perfect combination to watch animes and talk to native speakers, and also the fact that you can start your lessons from 5 euros to 20 euros, which is approximately around like $5.6 to 22-ish dollars, is amazing. You don't like need to sign up for a course, or you don't need to like pay a big amount. You can only pay for the lessons that you got, and I think it's really good because the first lesson is free, so there is basically no reason for you not to give it a try. If you love it, it's only like from 5 euros to 20 euros. Since I'm moving to Italy and I want to learn Italian, let's make a New Year resolution. You will learn Japanese using Izispeak and anime, and I will learn Italian. What do you think? You can become bilingual if you don't know any other language than your mother tongue, and I will learn my 5th language. It sounds cool, right? Everything will be down in the description below, like my promo code and everything, so don't forget to check them out. And thank you Izispeak for sponsoring this video. You should also consume daily Japanese sources, such as like television shows, maybe podcasts, maybe like dramas, movies, or news and radios and all these stuff. Okay, so now let's look about the sources that you can use for learning Japanese. So like when it comes to anime, my recommendation is gonna be something that is related to school life. For example, Ore no Monogatari is a anime that is basically about like school life and love. It's like a bit romantic, but it's not that much, so I totally recommend it, even if you're a guy and if you're not like really interested in these romantic type of animes. My brother hates the like romantic animes, but he likes it quite a lot, so I recommend Ore no Monogatari. And also another anime that I would recommend is actually Tokyo Revengers. It's also about like not really like a school life, it's about a Tokyo gang life, but as I watched the anime, the language that they use is not really that different from daily Japanese, so I would recommend to watch these two animes first. When it comes to JoJo, my all-time favorite anime, I don't recommend it in order to learn Japanese because JoJo Japanese is so characteristic. I love it so much. I'm a huge fan of it, but it's not really a good start, I would say. Okay, so other than watching animes, the thing that you can actually do is to follow Japanese YouTubers, because YouTubers basically talk the daily Japanese and they're actually pretty great source when it comes to learning Japanese. I will link some YouTubers, like female and male YouTubers, so that you can follow them and learn Japanese. In Japanese YouTubers, they add like subtitles in their videos in Japanese, which is like a common way to edit in YouTube Japan. So they're actually a pretty great source when it comes to learning Japanese. And also on YouTube, there's some YouTube news channels where you can listen to daily Japanese news. And the newscasters, like announcers in Japan, are very well spoken. It's really easy to understand them. And also in Japanese TVs, there are so many like Japanese subtitles as well. So they're a pretty great source of learning Japanese. I will link some Japanese news channels as well. The other thing that you can do is to watch comedy shows. And my recommendation is gonna be Shabekuri 007 and Getsuyo Kare Yofukashi. Watching it from YouTube is illegal. You have to actually have a subscription. So I cannot put a link because that basically means that I will support that illegal thing. So research it by your own. I'm not gonna take that risk. And the other thing that I would recommend is to watch J-dramas. They're actually pretty good, and the language that they speak is basically a daily Japanese, so you can check Hanayori Dango, which is my all-time favorite J-drama, and a couple of J-dramas. I might add the list link in the description below because I cannot really remember right now. Also, you can listen to some Japanese podcasts. I am gonna link my all-time favorite Japanese YouTubers podcast Miyama Rebecca-san. She's like my favorite Japanese YouTuber probably, and she has a podcast about animes and movies and the things that she loves. So books that she reads and all that stuff. So I'm gonna link her podcast too. So that was it for today. If you guys have any questions and if you learned Japanese from animes, let me know in the comments down below. And thank you smthg for sponsoring this video, and everything will be in the description below. See you guys next time. Bye. Jenny.